March the 25th is a very special date in the calendar of many, many, many people the world over, and including myself, and including my very special guest on this conversation today. I am truly elated, thrilled, excited, and thankful to be able to talk to a lady who, for many of the people who have seen Aretha Franklin on stage over decades or have looked at the credits on recordings will know, particularly in the live performances, will know when Aretha said, Cousin Brenda. They didn't wonder who that was. And so I am truly, truly delighted to welcome to this special conversation for our Soul Talking series at soulmusic.com. Cousin Brenda, Brenda Corbett, thank you so much for taking some time today to speak with me about how you are, what you've been up to, but also, and also, of course, to talk about your many, many treasured memories, thoughts, reminiscences about your dear cousin Aretha. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate that. That we're still got her going forth, as the Queen of Soul.
Yes,
I
indeed,
miss her
indeed.
so much.
I'm
Yes.
sure. I'm sure. And isn't often that I'm thinking back. I can't think of many times in music history that someone, a member of someone's family, also it was on stage with them night after night after night. So it's no long. It's not just about someone who's there doing, working as a musician or a singer with an artist, but it's actually a member of your family. So I know it's got to be, you know, challenging for you in that respect because she is a member of your family. And I know, yeah,
That's
I
right.
don't, and I don't refer to people in the past because while they might not be
Hmm.
physically here, I consider their presence here with us all the time.
Right. Their spirit, it stays with me.
Yes,
Her
yes,
spirit
yes.
is always with me.
Yes, yes, me too, Brenda, me too. So I want to start with asking you a question, which I don't know the answer to. So
Hmm.
when was the very first time you got a call from your cousin Aretha saying, um, Brenda, can you come to a recording session or can you come and work with me on tour? Can you remember the very, very first time?
Oh God, it had to be like in the early 70s.
Mm,
I was singing with Carolyn, her sister at the time, and she needed some background singers. And she called Carolyn and asked her if she could use us. So Carolyn asked us, did we want to do it? Of course, of course.
sure, sure, sure,
So
sure. Yeah, yeah.
our first time on stage with her was in San Francisco at the Cow Palace.
Wow.
I
Wow.
remember, I'll never forget that.
Mm, mm, mm,
It
mm.
was at the Cow Palace in San Francisco, yes.
Yes. And of course, not just as a member of your family, but as someone who obviously I'm assuming grew up listening to her, you were aware of the magnitude of being on stage with her in that respect.
Oh, yes. It was exciting. Um, I really enjoyed it. And for all the years that I was with her, you could tell like I enjoyed being on
Yes.
stage with her and
Yes.
traveling with her. I enjoyed it.
Mm, mm. So we don't know I have to look up the date of when that would have been the Cow Palace. But were you
Yes.
also at the Fillmore West with her as well?
Oh, yes. In fact, someone just sent me a picture of myself on stage with Aretha and King Curtis.
Yes.
Is the black and
Yes.
white. I just got it a couple of days ago.
Wow. So I can be correct about it. So you actually performed on stage with her before you recorded with her. Is that correct?
Yes.
Right, right. And I know it would take a very long conversation to talk about every performance and every recording. We're not going to do that. But let's talk for a moment about the traveling, the shows. So as you look back, Brenda, as you reminisce or reflect on all those different performances through decades. I mean, literally decades. Are there
Yeah.
some in particular that stand out for you in terms of just as I won't say in terms of anything, just really performances that will be etched on your memory forever?
Uh, my first one was doing the inauguration for Jimmy Carter, and uh, we did one of the shows there that was exciting. And the second one is the one with Barack Obama.
Yes.
We actually got a chance to go to the White House that time.
Mm.
Uh, and we did one with Bill Clinton. So, it was amazing, something that I would have never thought that would participate in. So
Mm.
I do have a little history behind
Yes,
me.
you do. Yes, you do. In fact, you're mentioning that is a perfect segue to for me to ask you. Prior to singing with Aretha and prior to that with Carolyn, what what had you been doing in music? Is this something you always wanted to do, or did you have other career plans as you were growing up?
As I was growing up, I was in the church with my uncle, Reverend C.L. Franklin.
Mhm.
I sung in the choir, and there was a lady she was over the choir. Her name is Lucille Lemons, and I thought I was a alto singer,
Mm.
and she told me, "No, Brenda, you can sing higher than that." And that's when I realized that I could sing first soprano.
Really?
She taught me, oh yeah, she taught me a lot. And then all of that came out as singing with Carolyn and singing with Aretha. It all came, I guess it just came flowing out.
Mm, mm, mm. But
Yeah, I
did
was
you
the,
yeah? Mhm, go ahead.
oh, I was going to say I was the church secretary at the time and also singing in
Really?
the church choir. Yeah,
Wow.
one of the church secretaries and
Oh
singing in the
my.
choir.
Wow, wow. So but did you always think you would have a career in music, or did you have some other things that you wanted to be doing?
You know what? I had just gotten out of high school, hadn't really thought about what I wanted to do, but I knew that it had to be something doing with business because I enjoyed putting things together. I enjoyed being in the office. I enjoyed at that time we didn't have computers, okay?
Right, right. No, I
I
know. Trust me,
enjoyed,
I
you
know.
know,
I do know, yes.
right, enjoyed taking care of the business. That was what I really wanted to do. I wanted to be a business person.
Mm, mm. So, just following it further forward. So, was there a point at which you said, "All right, yeah, I could do some music for a living," or was it really that Carolyn invited you, and that's really what it was? I mean, in other words, this wasn't necessarily your like, "Oh yeah, I want to be a recording artist. I want to perform." As you just said, you were more interested in business and dealing with other aspects of life.
Right. Well, singing with Carolyn kind of brought the singing out. Once I realized that I was really interested in music, uh, it became a priority for me,
Mm, mm,
and
mm.
that's what started. Carolyn was the one that started. She said, "Oh, you can sing, so I want to put a group together, and I need y'all to background me, be in my background." No problem. we gonna travel. Yeah. So it became my career.
So it's kind of like organically, it just kind of became that. In other words,
Right.
it wasn't your like, like, oh yes, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, or this is what I want to do. So it was really like an organic experience that goes from one thing to another, and here you are
Exactly.
singing with Carolyn, and the next thing you know, you're with Aretha, and you're touring
Right.
everywhere and recording. Wow. Well, was there a point in which you said, "Wow, this is what I'm doing for a living"?
I think the point really came when we did the White House.
Really?
Yeah, I really think that is what really impressed me, of being in the music career. And I enjoyed the traveling. I enjoyed being on stage. I mean, if you look back on some of the pictures and videos and film that was taken, you always see a big smile because that was fun to me.
Yes, yes. And as I recall, if we go back to the Fillmore West, I'm remembering that it was yourself, Margaret, and Pat,
Pat Smith.
Pat, Pat Smith.
Hmm.
So now,
Right.
did you help put that together, like the three of you, or how did that evolve into that particular combination?
Carolyn put that together.
Oh, she did. Okay, okay.
Yeah,
I got you.
she put us together.
Yes, yes. And did you have to learn a lot of songs with Aretha? I imagine you did.
Oh, yes. Yes, we did. Yeah. But you know what? It came easy because we listened to her music anyway. So
Yeah.
it was easy for us to catch on. It didn't take long, which I was kind of surprised. I'm talking about, okay, we got to learn all this music. But it was easy and it
Wow.
came easy for us. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And let me ask you, just as a reference, so as you were growing up, did you hear a lot of Aretha's what we call secular recordings, like a did you hear a Columbia recordings? I guess you would have been quite young. I mean, very young. I'm not going to be personal,
Yeah.
ask you how old you are. I'm just going to assume that you would have been. I would
I
assume you've been quite young.
Right. I was, but we listened to her music. That's all you heard in our house. And
Really?
because we all lived together. Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
grew up in the house with Aretha, Carolyn, and Irma and Cecil because my mom died when
Hmm.
I was 6 years old.
Wow. Yes.
And my
Yes.
grandmother, she raised me, and we all lived in the house together
So, in other words, the music was there all the time.
all the time.
Wow, wow. Well, I'm gonna be naughty by asking you. Do you have a favorite song from that time period as you were growing up? Do you have a favorite Aretha recording from then, from the Columbia recordings?
Mm, Skylark. Uh,
Yes, yes.
and there's one other one. I can't remember the name right now, but
Mm,
there was a few songs that I really enjoyed her
mm,
singing when she
mm,
was on Columbia. But when
mm.
she went to Atlantic Records, we just went crazy.
I think I imagine everybody in the Franklin household went crazy because it was just
Uh-huh.
like a complete change of state, like a state change in her career, in her life. So I mean,
Hmm.
yeah, wow. Well, you know, Brenda,
Yeah.
that brings to mind. I don't know if you've heard me share about my first interaction or experience of interacting with Aretha. Do you know that story? Can I share it with you very quickly if you haven't already heard it?
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
I
go
don't
ahead.
think you've heard it. So here I am. I'm in London. I'm a teenager. I'm growing up, living, with my mom, dad, and my sister. We live above a fish and chip shop in London,
Uh-huh.
and my first, kind of way I heard Aretha's music initially was kind of like a interesting kind of dynamic. So the person who first mentioned Aretha's name to me was Nina
Uh-huh.
Simone, because Nina,
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
I ran the fan club, the first British fan club or appreciation society for Nina Simone, and that
Uh-huh.
was in 1965 when I was
Oh my
17 years
God.
old. Yeah, yeah, and I was starting to get into finding out about all these different R&B artists from America, because at that point we didn't even call it
Mhm.
soul music; we called it R&B, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
so, and actually I heard Nina's name because the first record I kind of fell in love with was Dion's Walk On By. And when I heard Dion's
Yeah.
Walk On By, right, that song, then
Uh-huh.
Dion did an interview and she mentioned about, she was very popular in England at the time, and she mentioned that one
Uh-huh.
of her favorite singers was Nina Simone. So I thought, well, all these people forming fan clubs for all these great American artists, I think I want to form one. I don't know who. But when I heard Nina for the first time, I was like, oh, yes, 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 yes. So I write this letter. They say, yes, you can start the fan club or appreciation society for Nina. I'm at the airport.
Uh-huh.
It's June 1965, and Nina
Oh my
says to
God.
me, whose music do you listen to other than mine? And I said, well, Dion. She had
Mhm.
not at that point heard of Dion. But yes, it's true. She hadn't. She says to me, Nina says, have you heard of Aretha Franklin? And I said, well,
Oh
I
my
think I've
God.
heard, I've heard the name because this is 1965. This is before Aretha
Uh-huh.
signed to
Right.
Atlantic, and I said, well, I think I've heard the name. And a few months later, I am on a beach in Littlehampton, it's seaside
Uh-huh.
place, at the Dion and Cheryl's fan club outing. Like we went for like a little beach party, and somebody put
Okay.
on the album "Running Out of Fools,"
Oh my God.
and I said, and the Walk On By came on. I said, who
Oh.
is that? Who is that? And they said, oh,
Oh.
this is gonna make you laugh. They said Aretha Franklin because we didn't have any Arethas in England. I said, okay. And I realized who it
Oh my
was.
God.
Yeah, and I said, because I had never heard anyone who sang like
Mhm.
Aretha, because
Yeah.
all that she brought to her secular recordings, that gospel flavor, that whole that wasn't really there in Nina's music so much, and it wasn't as easily identified in Dion's, but in Aretha, I was like, oh wow. So from that moment, Brenda, I said I was on a
Uh-huh.
mission. I'm gonna find every Aretha Franklin album,
Oh my
and I used
God.
all my pocket money from working at a record shop. I put it all back
Uh-huh.
into buying the imported albums because they weren't released in
Oh my
England.
God.
Yes, yes, yes. And so when you said Skylark, of course I remember that. I remember all those
Oh
Columbia albums.
yeah.
And then I thought, well, how am I gonna, I want to know more about this artist. So
Mhm.
I write a letter
Mhm.
to Aretha,
Mhm.
Miss Miss Franklin, care of. Now this is 1966 now. Care
Yeah.
of.
Right.
This is Reverend C.L. Franklin, care of New Bethel Baptist Church. No
Get
address because I
out
did.
of
This is
here.
true story. Detroit, Michigan,
Right.
USA. And I hoped that she would get it. I didn't know she would.
Uh-huh.
And a few months later, I got a promotional photograph of Aretha from CBS Records, Columbia Records, and
Wow.
it had the manager's, who was Ted White at the time, address on there.
Uh-huh.
If you wanted to book
Okay.
Aretha,
Mhm.
a lot of times they would put the manager's information. So I thought, well, I better send her a second letter just in case she didn't get the first one. And sure
Right.
enough,
Right.
true story, Brenda. A
I
few months
believe
later,
you.
here comes my dad calls. He says, David, letter from America. I said, okay. And I run down the stairs, and here is a letter from Aretha Franklin
Oh
from
my God.
Detroit, saying, hello, David. I didn't know anyone knew my music in England, and thank you so much for your
Oh.
letters. And I'm hoping I can get there sometime soon. And that was the first that was the first interaction we had. And of course,
Uh-huh.
people say to me, "Do you still have the letter?" I mean, that's 1966. No, unfortunately, I do not have
Oh
the
my
letter.
God.
However, Brenda,
Yeah.
so the very next part to end this, what was going to be a short story is a little longer than I thought it would be. But anyway, so
Uh-huh.
at the end of 1966, I co-owned a record shop with two other people in London, and
Okay.
I was a teenager. We started this little record shop, and it was called Soul City. And
Wow.
our bonus was to call somebody in America for Christmas. So I got that
Oh wow.
photograph with Aretha, the promo photograph, and I had the international operator
Uh-huh.
because you couldn't dial somebody directly. And they called
Mm.
Detroit and they put through to the number on the photograph. And I guess
Mhm.
Ted answered the phone and they said, "Who's
Uh-huh.
calling?" And the operator said, "David is calling from London." And he put his hand over the phone and he said, "Aretha, phone from London." And she came to the phone and she said, "Hello."
Oh.
She said, "Hello." I said, "Hello, hello, Miss Franklin. This is David. I sent you a letter and you wrote back to me." She said, "Yes, yes." I said, "Well," she said, "I've never spoken to anyone in England before." I said, "Well, I just want to wish you a Merry Christmas and tell you, thank
Oh.
you so much for the music." And she said, "Well, I've just signed to Atlantic Records and I'm going in the studio soon. And so I'm looking forward to that." I said, "Well, I can't wait to hear the music." So that was December 1966, right? And
Oh my God, David.
Brenda, this is true story, Brenda. And then, of course, in January, she began recording for Atlantic. And her
Yeah.
life was never the same, and nor was
Yeah.
mine.
Oh my
And that's
God.
how far
Yes.
back we connected. So, and then when I
Mm.
became a music journalist, of course, as you know, we did many interviews. And so I
Right.
understand about how at that point you were saying about when she signed to Atlantic, everything changed. Everything changed.
Yes. Yes, it really
It's just
did.
amazing to me when I
Mhm.
think back to listening to
Yes.
those Columbia records in my little, room that we had with my record player. But you heard them in a
Okay.
different kind of way because here you are listening to your cousin in a different way. So I
Yeah.
want to know, when you first heard her first Atlantic recordings, how did you react? I mean, I know how I reacted. I know how the rest of the world reacted. But how did you, when you heard, Respect and I Never Loved a Man and those songs on that first album? I mean, what was your reaction? Because you were right there as a
Well,
family member.
well, we played the records all the time and walking through the house singing her songs. Uh,
Yes.
singing her songs. That's what we did.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
Yes, it was
Amazing.
amazing. Yes,
Yes, I'm
it was
sure.
amazing.
So now
Yes, indeed.
let's fast forward a little bit to when you first began recording with her. In other words, I know obviously at some point, there was the group, the Sweethearts of Soul.
Yeah,
Now,
she
who gave
named
you the
us.
name? Who gave you the
She
name?
did. She did. She
And
did. The
had
Sweethearts of Soul and the prima donnas. All of that was Miss
That's
Franklin.
right. That's right. I forgot about. That's right. The pre. Oh wow. Well,
The prima donnas. I'm talking about.
I love it.
How did she come up with that one?
Yeah.
I really like the Sweethearts of Soul, but the prima donnas was not one of my favorites.
Favorite.
Okay.
I understand. I understand. So do you remember I know it's hard to ask this because it's a long time ago. Do you remember your first recording session with Aretha?
Kind of. I remember going to New York. We did go to New York and to do the recordings because she was traveling then.
Yes, yes,
And I remember meeting Jerry Wexler and
yes,
what was it, Jerry Greenberg? Remember
yes, yes,
him?
yes. Absolutely,
And
absolutely. Yes.
oh, um, oh God, I
Wait a
can
minute.
see his face.
Arif Mardin and Tom Dowd and all those
Yes,
people in the
Aretha
studio.
Franklin. Yes,
Yes,
yes.
yes, yes.
But they were so nice. They were really nice guys.
Mm.
We enjoyed being around them, especially Jerry. He was like an old friend, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
And we enjoyed them. Everybody at Atlantic Records were very nice people. We never had any problem with them, or
Mm,
going into the studio and everything. They gave us whatever we needed and wanted, and it was
mm,
it was special. It was
mm.
special. So that took another light, But we had recorded with Carolyn going into RCA Victor at that
Yes,
time.
yes, 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 yes,
That was
yes.
our very first recording session,
Mm,
was with Carolyn.
mm, yes. And did you just as a matter of question, as a question, I guess within that, did you ever record with Irma?
No, I didn't, because Irma was recording. I think I was still in school.
Well, okay.
So
I
she was
get you.
recording. Yeah, I was still in school, and Irma didn't really use background singers at that
Right,
time.
right, right,
Uh,
right.
Carolyn was one that really came up with the background singers,
Mm,
and then,
mm.
Aretha got into it too.
Yes.
So that's where our background career started, was with Carolyn.
Right, right. And then, of course, I know prior to you recording with Aretha in terms of background singing, there was the Sweet Inspirations with Cissy Houston and Estelle Brown and
Right.
Sylvia Shemwell and Mona Smith.
Yeah.
So, and I know they didn't tour a lot with Aretha, so they did dates here and there, but mostly it was in the studio. Were
In the
you familiar?
studio, yeah.
Yeah, were you ever on sessions with them as well as you at the same time?
Not singing, but in the studio with them.
Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Not as far as singing was, because they had a full pack. They didn't need nobody. They had it
Okay.
going on.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
but it was a good experience, just sitting
Mm,
there listening to them while
mm,
they recorded, and just knowing them was great.
yes. I seem to recall, without actually looking, which would take me a moment to go check, that you were on actually some of those. Were you on any of the albums? Like I'm thinking about Spirit in the Dark album, and then there
Yeah,
was yeah, and then there's some of those songs like You're All I Need to Get By, which is phenomenal. I
right.
love the vocal parts on that, incredible. So were you on any of those sessions? I think you were.
Yeah, we did quite a few. Now, you want me to name them? It was so much going on.
Yeah, you couldn't. No, we'd be on the phone for a long time. So, but I
Yeah,
just remember I remember them. And I do have one question for you about that. Did who really arranged the vocal harmonies? Was that you? Was that Aretha? Was it Margaret? I mean,
it
how
was
did you all
it was
work out the
mostly
harmonies?
Aretha.
Really?
It was mostly Aretha. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Sometimes Carolyn would come in. Um, the only one that she really let me do was "Until You Come Back to Me."
Oh, yes, 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 and
Yes,
yes.
she challenged me.
No, you're
I
kidding.
want to see if I want to see if you can put this background to this song. David, I had two tape recorders, and I was up all night. I was in New York City.
Oh, wow, I love this. I love this.
And that's
Yes.
something else I will never forget. She challenged me to put the background together, and I did. She didn't change a thing. All of that background was put together by me.
Yep. And you know what? You are 100. Well, not that you would have made that up, but you are 100 million times correct because I'm looking at the information. Yes, 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 yes.
Uh-huh. Yep,
Wow,
yep,
wow.
yep, yep, yep. And of course, I love that song. Okay.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that
I
song.
was
Yes.
so excited.
Mm.
I couldn't believe that are you serious? Yes, I want to see what you gonna do. Let me see what you gonna do.
Mm, 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 mm. That is amazing. That
And
is amazing.
yes, yes,
And that song is really quite well, it was an important song in Aretha's career too, because at that point, kind of took her right back up to the top of the charts. A brilliant song.
yeah,
Stevie I mean, wonderful, wonderful,
Oh
wonderful.
yes,
Yes. So once
Stevie
she
put
gave,
it together. Yes.
yes. So once she gave you that opportunity, were you like, oh, am I going to be doing this forever now? Putting together the harmonies?
Yeah. Well, she when we would go on stage, she
Yes.
would give us certain projects and everything, but everything would work out. We were all together.
Mm, mm.
She didn't take no stuff either. It's either do it or don't. But
Yes, yes,
we had a
yes.
good time. We had a good time.
And I mean, people have commented many, many times about just the incredible, incredible musicianship of Aretha. A lot of times people forget
Oh
that. You know
yeah.
what I mean? They don't always remember or reference Aretha's artistry as a musician. So I'm wondering, from your perspective, as singing with her, did you become aware of that quite quickly? That
Oh
she
yeah.
wasn't just a
Oh
singer.
yeah.
She was, yeah, 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 yeah.
She had an ear. I mean,
Yes.
she had a ear on her that anybody would mess up or hit the wrong note or
Mm,
go the wrong way. She knew exactly who it was,
really?
and she would call you out. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It was like those things that they used to put in your ear so you could hear real good. It was look
Yes,
like a
yes,
horn. I think she had
yes,
one built
yes,
in.
yes. Wow, wow,
Yeah,
wow.
she had
Yeah.
an ear. She could hear. I mean, oh my God, she could hear.
Mm,
Yes,
mm.
it was perfect.
A couple more things I'm thinking about. Now, one question I have for you, I'm looking at some of these credits, which don't seem to be correct. It lists background vocals as, oh, I see what it says. It says The Sweet House of Soul with Margaret Branch, Ann S. Clark, and Pat Smith. But who is Ann S. Clark? Excuse me.
That was me. I don't know where they got that name from,
Do you know what
but
I
it was
thought?
the three of us.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
I don't know how they got my name mixed up like that, but it was me.
I thought so because on
Yeah.
every recording that I see, and I see Ann S. Clark, and I never see anything about who that is.
Uh huh. It was me. I don't know how they did
Yeah, and then
that.
at some
I have
point,
no idea.
well, we have now done something historic. Do you know that, Brenda?
Yeah.
Because we have now corrected the record.
Right.
We have, because
Right.
it does, and I keep saying, who's Ann S. Clark? And also on certain recordings, it has you down as Brenda Bryant,
Uh huh.
which I think
Yeah. That
is that
was.
correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it has you on "Call Me." That's one of the songs it has you on "Call Me,"
Mhm.
and the ones you mentioned "Until You Come Back to Me." I was looking at it, I was like, well, it doesn't say you, but it does definitely say, without any question, it definitely says Ann Clark. I'm like, oh, well, now you have corrected the record, and all the
I don't.
Aretha
I
people.
can't even. I have no idea how that happened.
Well, I want you to know
I
something.
have no
You have now
idea.
created, you, cousin Brenda, you have just created history for all those people. No, I'm serious. For all the people who always wondered, because if I look at these notes, it's very clear. It says
Mhm.
Ann S. Clark, or it says what songs? It says Every Natural Thing. It says
Uh
Until You
huh.
Come Back to
But
Me.
guess
It's
what, David?
yeah.
Guess what? I
What?
got my check in my name.
Ah, now you see, Brenda.
That check
That
came
I
in my
love that.
name.
It didn't say Ann Clark, did it?
No, it did not.
Good, good, good.